being ruthless with your career and our careers is not about being an ass. It's not about being discourteous or rude. It's really about having the clarity and focus to know where your time is going to be valuable. It's about having a really clear idea of who you are, what you're moving towards, and when you know what your goals look like and are extremely clear on them, we're going to have a much easier time knowing what we should apply for and what we shouldn't, and how we manage that process through to completion. What that essentially means is don't panic. Up front, when we start a job search, it's very easy to jump into the polish off the resume, add a few things on from our current job, and start firing off applications in the belief that, speed and volume are going to equal a greater probability of success. And it rarely happens that way. A lot of people that I've coached in the past and a lot of people who find value in Career Hijack often tell me that the first steps around preparing yourself for it mentally is what gives them the stability in their job search, the ability to build a discipline and a strategy that they can stick to. Being ruthless looks like putting markers down that allow you to understand and communicate your strengths, your personal values, and the ideal job, those three things. And it's quite likely that between the last time you searched for a job and where you are right at this instant, you are a different person. Not just a different professional, but a different human being. And all those things are going to influence what matters to you as you approach finding the next job. So where I want you to consider being ruthless is in your honesty with yourself. That's the first thing. Get that right, and everything else will be a lot easier. But then being ruthless with people around you, the time that you give them and don't give them, and working out how you're going to communicate that you need to prioritize your life, your finances, your future before whatever it is they might be dealing with. Sounds a bit harsh, but unless you're on form and you're secure, you aren't going to be much use to anybody else. Secondly, I want you to be ruthless with the world you're about to enter. You are coming from an environment where you have high credibility. People know who you are. Everybody knows what you're capable of. They know what your strengths are. They know what you have done. You've got a record of success and achievement. You're about to enter a world where, as it stands, at the very beginning, you're nothing more than a piece of paper. So it takes a little bit of toughening up and resilience to be prepared for how that's going to manifest, how people are going to be ruthless with you. You are going to get ghosted. You are going to get not replied to. You are going to make a huge number of applications and hear nothing back. You're going to go to interview stage. You're going to have phone calls and screening calls. You're going to hear nothing back. It's going to frustrate you. There's going to be small rejection points that build up and compound into something bigger. So be ruthless with your expectations and your emotions. Be ruthless with anybody else who doesn't match your own ambition and your own energy and your own standards. And why I say that is I've seen a lot of people get very frustrated and get worn down by the rejections they get. And if you can adopt something more akin of a apply and forget approach to a job search, it's going to be a lot easier for you to keep that momentum and move towards the goal. For every yes in a job search, there are at least 100 no's. In some cases, many more, okay? And I'm not just talking about the no from the job application, but the conversation with the recruiter who tells you you're not right for this role, the interview that doesn't go well, the phone call that leads to nowhere, the networking calls that you make where people say no to you for whatever reason that is. There's just going to be lots of these little points. So be prepared that a large number of no's is going to equal a yes. And so be ruthless with your expectations, your optimism to a point, but be ruthless with your emotional regulation. Be ruthless with what you ask of people. Set a standard for what you want to achieve with your interactions with people. Examples of this are when you call your referees to ask their permission to provide a reference for you. Again, be ruthless about what you expect. Ask follow-up questions to help you. This is about you. This is about you being helped. Ask them if they can give you insight on what kind of salary you should be pitching for. Ask them if they were hiring a similar role right now, or if they have hired a similar role in recent times. What are the top 3, 4, 5 things that they were assessing candidates on, and what did they want to see? That sort of question is going to give you some really useful real-time direction on how you can prepare some of your achievements and answers to potential behavioral questions. And it also is going to help you ask really good questions during your interview to kind of pinpoint the pain areas of the hiring managers you're going to meet. If you're in a situation where redundancy is why you're looking for a job, be very mindful of where you spend your time. And as an example, a friend of mine who's a CFO who found himself out of work was suddenly being asked by his family to do more things. The perception was this guy's got a lot of time. And while, yes, he had more free time, what he didn't need was to accept a lot of these requests and tasks and spend most of his time pleasing them rather than doing what he should have been doing, which is setting up that strategy and filling his days with proactive work that's going to help him get the job he wants. So find out a way that you can say no to people in a nice way. You don't have to be an ass about it, but again, be ruthless with the expectations of those close to you and manage them accordingly. Be ruthless with who you build relationships with during this process. An example here would be recruiters. You may not know any, and you might have to start calling quite a few to try and understand who maybe is going to help you out. A lot of recruiters, well, most recruiters in fact, are pretty much driven by the person who pays their wages, which is the hiring manager's business. So you're not their priority unless you are going to make them money. But by the same token, you need to work out who is going to add some value to you. If you strike up a good relationship with one of these people, ask questions of them, find things out from them, agree say a weekly or fortnightly call. Ask them which clients that they think you could be good for. Push and get more out of them. They're the people you're going to stay close to because in a selfish and ruthless way, you're getting what you want out of the process. If you are employed and you have decided you're going to move on, or you know you are facing being redundant, say in a month's time, then again, I would try and have a conversation with your employer, if they know you're moving on, to be able to spend a bit of time every day or have the flexibility to go out for interviews or to go out to meet people, or even just an hour a day to make some calls or to focus on a few of the things that are going to help you move on to a better job. If your employer does not know, try and be a bit ruthless with their expectations of your personal time as well. Whether that's asking you to do more work at night, whether that's asking you to stay back, finish a report or two, which means you're going to put in some real long hours, that is going to detract away from your opportunity to move yourself on and better yourself. And it's not just, say, those 2 nights. That's going to burn you out. So it means the next few days, you're not going to have the energy to put time into a job search. And this is where I see a lot of people get caught out when they're looking to move on from a business and their employer doesn't know they're looking. You get so caught up with what the work is, you have not prioritized what you need to do and put the time aside that you need to be able to move on. Be ruthless with interviews and screening calls. Screening calls and interviews are not just a one-way process. So I'll give you an insight as a recruiter. I'm 20 plus years now doing this, nearly 23. What I look for on a screening call, so this is when I have received a resume application for a role and I pick up the phone and call that person because I want to have maybe a 5, 10, 15-minute conversation with them to try and ascertain if we should move forward to an interview. My expectation as a recruiter, because I know what my hiring manager's expectations are, is it's not just a Q&A session from me. I don't just ask questions and they give me answers. I want them to engage me with certain questions, things that may not have appeared on the job advert. And if I'm being asked questions, that becomes a conversation which I start to think, okay, this person has a sort of frame of reference for what they're trying to achieve and what they're going for. They have a bit of a vision, a bit of a drive, a bit of an idea about why it is they are currently on the market and what it is they're moving to. But also for your own sense of self, if you've done the work up front and you've understood what it is that you want in a very clear way, ask those questions. Don't waste your time interviewing with people who aren't going to meet your expectations, whether that's around culture, whether that's around working conditions, career prospects, growth, salary, whatever it might be. Get those things out of the way in the first call so you know that you're not going to waste your time. Be ruthless in an interview, a face-to-face interview or an official video interview, however they're being conducted. And this goes back again to ensuring that you know what you want from this. It should be a two-way process. Have a list of very specific questions that you want answers to. Read from it, take it in. It looks excellent. I have never heard a hiring manager who's fed back to me, oh, this person brought in some questions. I can't believe they did that. No, it looks very prepared. Do it. Have as many as you need, but make them relevant to you. And make sure you get the answers you want. Write them down so you know if it's something that you want to follow to the second stage if everybody feels the same way. Be ruthless with your negotiation. In an ideal scenario, you are having the conversation along the way, especially if you've got a recruiter involved, that we know what the salary expectations are. However, in some instances, if you're dealing directly with a company and not using a recruiter, there may be some ambiguity around what the specific salary is that you will take. For an example, the conversation may have gone somewhere along the lines of, we're paying between X and Y. So you've got a banding, and that banding could be anything from sort of $5,000 to $20,000, depending on the seniority of the role. You don't want to enter the final piece of the puzzle without having that nailed down. So whether that's at the end of the second interview or whether it's a follow-up call or email chain made before an offer comes, specify exactly what it is you want and make sure that everybody's in agreement. Last thing anybody wants is to find out that after all that, they'll only come to here and you can't go below here. And there's this horrible little gap that nobody can cover. It's the worst thing in the world because it wastes everyone's time, right? So the ruthlessness is a mindset that I think we should adapt because it's going to allow us to be extremely clear about what we want. It'll also look good from a hiring manager's perspective that you have a very clear idea of what you want from the process and how you're going about understanding it. It'll also make sure that you use your time as effectively and efficiently as possible. People who are ruthless in this way in their job search consistently outperform people who are not in terms of the time it takes for them to get that job. And we could be talking a matter of months here, and that's a big financial hit if you're unemployed. So be ruthless. Do it right, and you will be significantly more competitive than most people who are trying to get the same jobs that you are.